That's probably not safe. Alright, so today I wanted to talk about safety. So, one thing that we've noticed about my 91 brick nose is that the seatbelts are completely jacked on it. And they're basically not stopping whenever you yank on the seatbelts. So that leads us to these junkyard fresh units that I got from a friend of mine through the local Bronco Club. And this is really just a short demonstration of some nice safety features that these things have. So these seatbelts are junkyard fresh, and these are from comparable era old body style Ford. One of the things that was lacking severely in my 91 brick nose is that they weren't ratcheting. They weren't stopping when you yanked on the seatbelt. And that, I wanted to give you guys sort of a look at the inside of the seatbelt mechanism that might be in your truck, and a troubleshooting tip for it. So when I got these, they were fully retracted. I mean, these seatbelts were kind of rammed in there as far as they would go. And that was partially because the guy who removed them basically just unbolted them from the truck, threw them in the back of his truck, and then drove them to me in a parking lot in the middle of Texas and said, "Here you go." And thank you very much for that. But one of the problems that I was facing with it was I couldn't unstick the seatbelts. You know, no matter how hard I tried, no matter how hard I tugged, I couldn't unstick them. And I'm like, shit, these are broken. So what I ended up doing is something that I didn't have to do. And you see this little hole right here? That is from where I drilled a tiny little hole in the side of the plastic. And then what I did was I stuck a small drill bit in here and I pressed down on that little plastic latch, thus releasing, or so I thought, the mechanism. And it wasn't until I did this that I realized that step was completely unnecessary, because that little ball bearing in there actually is the safety feature for sort of a low-tech tilt mechanism for if your truck is at an angle or it's on a steep incline or decline. The seat belts will lock up, and this is why. Because this little ball bearing inside here, if it's at the wrong angle, it will roll into place and push that little arm up and stop the seat belt from coming loose. However, if your seat belt is straight up and down, or your truck is at a safe angle, what it does, if I can keep this out of the way, once your truck is at a safe angle, it actually unleashes itself, which is great. So I've looked at a bunch of different videos on YouTube that said, oh, well, if this happens, it happens with all factory automatic ratcheting seat belts, and all you gotta do is basically put them in a bench vise and yank the crap out of them until they let go. I don't recommend that for a number of reasons, not the least of which is if you follow that instruction and it does finally let go, you will break your seatbelt, and that sucks. So one way to kind of get a look at what's going on in here is that when I tilt this, you'll see that ball bearing start to push that plastic bracket up into place. And that's really not much of an angle change, but that might represent, if this is the left front, so that would be the driver's side. If this represents the driver's side, what this could be would be a lean to the driver's side, or I think this is actually reversed back, it's backwards, so that would be a lean to the passenger side. The ball bearing goes in place and stops the seatbelt from unratcheting, and that kind of keeps you in your seat. But your truck goes back to a safe place, and your seatbelt can unleash a little bit. What it does is it goes to a neutral position, and it allows you to pull your seatbelt out. So if you pull these out of a junkyard and you're having some difficulty trying to pull them out from what they're dealing with, you can drill this hole like I did, but I wouldn't really recommend it. I don't want to mess with the safety features that are built into this as much as possible. But it really does matter how you hold the seat belts. So you can kind of make sure that you're holding it straight up and down, and it does the same thing if you tilt it forward or backward. That would be an example of a nose up or a nose down situation that holds you in your seat. So for an old body style Ford, and I'm not too sure how far into the future that Ford put these on some of their trucks, might even be on some of their small cars, but either way, if you're having trouble ratcheting your seat belts that you just pulled out of your junkyard, that could be why. So I hope you find this video helpful, and talk to you later.